My friends, let me begin by saying this. Change never comes from comfort. It comes from courage. And what we are witnessing right now is a nation that decided it would no longer wait for someone else to define its destiny. India stood up, looked at the challenges before it, and said, "We are ready to rise." That rise didn't happen by accident. It came from a deep belief that progress is not given, it's earned, built, and fought for. You see, every great nation has a moment when it decides to stop chasing the past and start creating the future. For India, that moment is now. It's a story that began in the hearts of ordinary people, people who refused to give up when times were hard, who kept dreaming when no one was watching, who believed that tomorrow could be brighter if they dared to act today. And that belief, that unshakable faith in progress, is what defines this new era. India's rise is not just about tall buildings or new technologies. It's about a spirit that refuses to settle for less. It's about farmers who work from dawn till dusk, engineers who design tomorrow's innovations, teachers who shape the minds of the next generation. It's about every citizen who wakes up believing that their effort matters, that their contribution counts. That's how change begins, one person, one action, one dream at a time. This new India is confident, creative, and courageous. It doesn't wait for permission to succeed. It doesn't follow the old rules of power and privilege. It's rewriting the rules altogether. It's showing the world that a nation can rise not through domination, but through determination, not through imitation, but through imagination. And that, my friends, is what changing the game looks like. But make no mistake, the road has not been easy. There were times when doubt was louder than hope, when progress felt slow, when the world underestimated what India could do. Yet every setback became a lesson, every challenge became an opportunity, every obstacle became a reason to push harder. That is the essence of transformation. Because when a nation decides to rise together, when its people choose unity over division, hope over fear, and hard work over excuses, there's nothing that can stop it. That's what we're seeing now, a billion hearts beating with the same rhythm, a billion dreams moving in the same direction. That's power, that's purpose, that's progress, and so this moment belongs not to the powerful, but to the persistent, not to the privileged, but to the passionate. India's rise is proof that when vision meets action, when courage meets faith, and when people come together with a shared belief in something greater than themselves, the world takes notice. This is the dawn of a new era, and India is leading the way. There is something deeply powerful about a people who refuse to give up, something unshakable in the human spirit that says, "No matter how many times I fall, I will rise again." That's what resilience looks like, and that's what defines India today. Through every trial, every storm, every obstacle, the nation has held on to its belief that tomorrow can be better, not by luck, but by labor. Look around and you'll see that spirit in motion. You'll see it in a young woman from a small village who studies by candlelight, determined to change her family's future. You'll see it in a worker who endures long hours, not for applause, but for the hope of giving his children a better life. You'll see it in a nation that keeps building even when the world doubts its strength. That is the story of resilience, quiet, constant, and unstoppable. True progress doesn't come from the absence of struggle. It comes from the refusal to surrender to it. India's journey has not been easy. There were times when the challenges seemed too heavy, when the road ahead looked uncertain. But in those moments, something remarkable happened. The people did not break. They bent, they adapted, they endured. They turned pain into power and hardship into hope. That resilience is not just a national trait. It's a collective heartbeat. It's in the farmers who till the land even when the monsoon fails. It's in the entrepreneurs who build companies from scratch, fueled by nothing but a dream and a laptop. It's in the teachers who keep showing up, the doctors who keep serving, the soldiers who keep protecting. These are the faces of perseverance. These are the hands that built the foundation of a stronger tomorrow. And here's the truth: resilience doesn't make you immune to failure. It makes you stronger because of it. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every disappointment becomes motivation. Every challenge becomes a test of faith. And India has passed that test time and time again. The world has seen this nation rise from poverty to progress, from uncertainty to leadership, from hope to achievement. There's something deeply moving about a people who, no matter how hard life presses them, find a way to stand taller. It reminds us all that strength is not measured by wealth or power, but by endurance, by the ability to keep going when the path is long and the night is dark. So, when we talk about India changing the game, we're really talking about this: the will to keep moving forward, the will to smile in struggle, to find courage in crisis, to keep faith in the face of fear. That's what builds a nation. That's what inspires the world, because in the end, resilience is not just surviving the storm, it's learning to dance in the rain. There comes a time when a nation must decide whether to follow the footsteps of others or to carve a new path of its own. And India has made that choice. It has chosen not to imitate, but to innovate, not to walk where others have walked, but to create roads that never existed before. That choice, that courage to create, is what sets this moment apart from any other. For far too long, the world looked at nations like India as places of potential rather than power. But potential means nothing unless it's turned into purpose, and purpose means nothing unless it's turned into progress. What India has done is transform both. It has turned potential into performance, dreams into development, and ideas into impact. It's not waiting for someone else to lead. It's showing the world what leadership looks like in action. You can see it in the innovations shaping the nation's future. From space exploration that reaches the stars to digital revolutions that connect the smallest villages. You can see it in the entrepreneurs who build, the scientists who discover, the engineers who design. This is not imitation. This is imagination. A new kind of power that does not depend on imitation of the West or the East, but rises from the strength of its own vision. And that's the beauty of creation. It's not about being the next someone. It's about being the first you. India's success is not about following someone else's story. It's about writing its own. It's about showing that greatness can emerge from diversity, that unity can grow from difference, that progress can come from persistence. That's how change happens, not when you copy, but when you create. Of course, creation takes courage. It means standing alone when others doubt you. It means taking risks when failure seems certain. It means trusting your instincts when the world questions your direction. But that's where true growth begins, because nothing revolutionary ever came from comfort zones. India is now a living example of that truth. It's proving that leadership in the modern world isn't just about power, it's about purpose. It's not about control, it's about contribution. It's about creating something that outlives you, something that uplifts everyone around you. That's what this generation is doing. That's what the young minds of India represent, a creative force that refuses to be silent, a spirit that refuses to settle. And so, as the world watches, India is quietly changing the definition of progress. It's no longer asking for a seat at the table, it's building its own. It's not waiting for the future, it's creating it. Because the courage to create is the courage to believe that your ideas matter, that your voice counts, that your time is now. And when a nation truly believes that nothing can stop it from changing the game forever, every generation writes its own story, but some generations don't just write history, they redefine it. That's what the youth of India are doing right now. They're not waiting for change to come from above. They're creating it from the ground up. They're not afraid to dream differently, to challenge the old systems, to stand tall in the face of doubt. This new generation carries within it the energy, intelligence, and imagination to transform not only their country, but the world around them. You can see it in their eyes, a fire that refuses to fade. You can hear it in their voices, strong, confident, unshaken. They are not bound by the limits of the past because they are too busy building the future. Whether it's in classrooms, startups, laboratories, or even the digital world, India's youth are showing that leadership has nothing to do with age and everything to do with attitude. They are the pulse of a nation that's moving faster, thinking bigger, and reaching higher than ever before. But what makes this generation truly remarkable is not just their ambition, it's their purpose. They don't just want success for themselves, they want significance. They understand that progress isn't measured only by what you achieve, but by what you inspire. They're turning their skills into service, their ideas into impact, and their dreams into direction. That is the mark of a generation that doesn't just want to inherit the world, it wants to improve it. The youth of India are teaching us all a lesson in courage. They're not afraid of failure. They know that every setback is just another step toward success. They're willing to try to fall, to rise again, because they understand that the road to greatness is never straight. It twists, it turns, it tests, but every time they get back up, they prove something powerful. That strength isn't about never falling. It's about never staying down. And here's the thing, this generation doesn't wait for permission to dream. They're not looking for someone to tell them what's possible. They're showing what's possible. They're turning obstacles into opportunities, using technology as a tool for transformation, and creativity as a weapon for change. They are proving that true leadership is born from belief. Belief in yourself, in your people, in the idea that your small action can start something big. So when the world looks at India today, it's not just seeing a country on the rise, it's seeing a generation in motion. A generation that's bold enough to take risks, smart enough to build solutions, and brave enough to stand for what's right. These young men and women are not just the future, they are the now. They're living proof that when you give youth a vision, they'll build a revolution. And that revolution is already here, powered by hearts that dream and hands that do. Change always begins within. Before it's seen in the skyline or the statistics, it starts in the quiet corners of the mind. And what we're witnessing in India today is not just an economic rise, it's a revolution of mindset. A shift from doubt to determination, from dependence to self, belief from can we to we will, that's the power of transformation. It doesn't begin in policies or politics, it begins in people. It begins the moment a nation decides to believe in itself. For too long, the narrative around progress was written by others, but now India is writing its own story, one of courage, conviction, and clarity of purpose. People are beginning to understand that success is not a privilege handed down from the powerful. It's something built, earned, and shared. When a society begins to think that way, when people start seeing challenges not as barriers, but as chances, the entire nation shifts gears. This change in mindset is what separates stagnation from momentum. It's what turns a problem into an opportunity, a struggle into a breakthrough. When individuals start to believe that they are capable of shaping their destiny, something extraordinary happens. The impossible starts to look possible. And that's what's unfolding in India right now. In the classrooms, in the streets, in the small towns and the big cities, there's a growing confidence that tomorrow belongs to those who are willing to work for it. You see it in the youth who choose innovation over imitation. You see it in the women stepping into roles once denied to them. You see it in communities that are learning, building, and growing together. This is not just progress, this is awakening. A collective realization that the strength of a nation doesn't come from a few voices at the top, but from millions rising together. A revolution of mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's built day by day, decision by decision. It comes from teachers who refuse to give up on their students, from parents who sacrifice for their children, from citizens who demand better and believe they deserve it. It comes from the recognition that every action, no matter how small, is part of something greater. That every dream matters, and as this mindset spreads, the foundation of the nation strengthens. Because when people start to believe in their own power, they no longer wait for miracles, they become the miracle. They no longer wait for hope, they create it. They no longer ask for change, they lead it. That's the essence of transformation. So when we talk about India changing the game, what we're really witnessing is this: the rise of a new consciousness. A belief that greatness isn't inherited, it's earned. A belief that the future doesn't belong to the privileged few, it belongs to the determined many. And once a people begin to think that way, there's no force on earth that can hold them back. Every now and then, a message echoes across the world, a message that reminds us what true progress looks like. And right now, that message is coming from India. It's a reminder that greatness isn't about where you start, but about how far you're willing to go. That success isn't about privilege or power. It's about perseverance, belief, and the courage to keep moving forward when the odds are against you. India's rise speaks to something universal: the power of ordinary people to do extraordinary things. It tells every young man, every young woman, every dreamer sitting in a small town or a crowded city that you don't need to be born into wealth to create worth. You don't need someone else's approval to chase your own vision. All you need is the strength to keep going when the world tells you to stop. That's the message India is sending out loud and clear, and the world is listening, because what's happening in India isn't just national progress, it's a global inspiration. It's proof that leadership today doesn't come from domination, but from determination. It doesn't come from dictating, but from doing. It comes from showing that hope, discipline, and unity can lift 1 billion people higher. India is showing that power can be compassionate, that growth can be inclusive, that success can be shared. It's reminding the world that true strength doesn't come from the size of your army or the reach of your economy. It comes from the resilience of your people. When a nation believes in its own potential, it becomes unstoppable. When its people stand together, no challenge is too great, no dream too distant. And this moment, this movement, carries a lesson for everyone watching. It tells us that progress is not a privilege reserved for a few nations. It's a right that belongs to all who are willing to earn it. It tells us that the human spirit, when fueled by hope and hard work, can transform any country, any community, any life. That's not just India's message, that's humanity's truth. What's most powerful is that this change didn't come through shortcuts or luck. It came through decades of effort, struggle, and faith. It came from millions of people who never gave up, who believed that even the smallest step forward mattered. And that belief has turned into a wave that's now shaping the future. So when people look at India today, they see more than a country. They see a symbol of what's possible. They see proof that no dream is too big, no goal too distant, no journey too hard if you have the heart to begin and the will to persist. The world is learning something profound. Progress is not about where you come from, it's about what you stand for. And right now, India stands for hope, strength, and the unbreakable spirit of human possibility.